welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jon Thomson. I'm the Media Manager for the Australian Rally Championship, and I welcome you all here today for the launch of a very important piece of news for the Australian Rally Championship and for rallying in Australia, and that's the return of rallying on a national championship basis to our national capital. This morning we're going to be hearing from the Minister for Sport and Tourism in the A.C.T, Mr. Andrew Barr. We're going to be hearing from Michael Taylor from the club that's organising the National Capital Rally, Michael Taylor. We're also going to be hearing from the CEO of the Australian Rally Championship, Scott Pedder. It's fair to say that Canberra has a fairly significant role in the sport of rallying in Australia. This was the place where special stage or time to the second rallying was first born back in 1974 with the Don Capasco rally, which became the Castrol. It's also the place where 8 of the 43 Australian rally champions since the inception of the championship in 1969 hail from. That's just under 20% of the national rally champions coming from a place that has less than 2% of the national population. So it's fair to say that rallying plays a very significant role in the sporting life of the national capital, and the national capital plays a very significant role in rallying in Australia. So it's great to have a round of the ARC back here. It's also fair to say that rallying a couple of years ago was probably at its lowest ebb. Most of the manufacturers had departed the sport. There weren't too many events putting their hands up to host rounds of the national championship. But with some rebuilding, announcements like this return of the national championship to Canberra, some imminent announcements about manufacturers coming back into the sport, 2013 is certainly shaping as a very significant year in the revitalisation of the Australian Rally Championship. And certainly I'd say that it's probably, we're coming out of the winter and heading into the spring, and I think there's going to be a lot of blossoming of commercial interests and a lot of incentives for people to get back involved with the Australian Rally Championship. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome from the Brindabella Motor Sports Club, Michael Taylor, to say a few words on behalf of the organisers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure and excitement that I welcome you to the launch of the 2013 National Capital Rally. The event will be organised and promoted by the Brindabella Motor Sports Club, with significant support from the A.C.T government and the Australian Rally Championship. The Brindabella Motor Sports Club is a community organisation with a long and successful 35-year history running rallying events in Canberra. The club has the relevant expertise in its membership base to run successful events ranging from grassroots motorsport to national level competitions such as this. The club and its membership base are passionate about promoting motorsport as a safe and fulfilling sport and recreational activity. Our long-running event, the National Capital Rally, will be upgraded to the top-level national championship event. It will be held from the 1st to the 3rd of March and will be round 1 of the Australian Rally Championship. As John said, this is the first time that a round of the Australian Rally Championship will feature in Canberra since 2009. The rallying community have missed having a round of the championship in Canberra, and I think it's safe to say that the championship have missed having Canberra as a round. Canberra has always been known as the spiritual home of rallying in Australia, and it is the BMSC's goal to reinforce this reputation through the launch of this event. The beauty and attraction of Canberra to the rallying community is based purely on the quality of our forest roads and their proximity to the city. There is not another event on the rallying calendar where the competition stages are all within a 20-minute drive from the city centre. This allows for Canberra to provide the best spectator access to ensure all members of the community have the opportunity to get close to the action and spectacle that is the Australian Rally Championship. Spectator involvement is key to the success of this event, and one of the major goals of the Brindabella Motor Sports Club is to bring rallying to the people of Canberra. The event will run as a not-for-profit event, with spectators given access to the best spectator points in the country free of charge. This will include access to the service park, which will be located close to the centre of town, and a nighttime special stage just minutes from the city. And further details of the event will be released as they are finalised. On behalf of the BMSC, I would like to acknowledge the support the club has received from Minister Barr and the A.C.T government. Minister Barr and his team have been crucial to getting this event off the ground, working with our club to meet our requirements for facilities and support to run the event. As well, the Brindabella Motor Sport Club are thrilled to have been successful in securing funds under the Community Motorsport Development Grant Scheme. This will allow the club to purchase state-of-the-art timing equipment. This equipment secures the Brindabella Motor Sport Club as a premier provider of motorsport in Australia, ranging from grassroots and junior development activities through to national level competition. Once again, I thank you all for joining us here today, and I look forward to working with all of you to ensure this exciting event is successful for both the rallying community and the A.C.T government. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. And as Michael said, without the support of the A.C.T government, this event would really struggle. The support and help that the A.C.T government has given Brindabella and the Australian Rally Championship is at the core of the return of this event. So without further ado, I'd like to call on Mr. Andrew Barr, the Minister for Sport and Tourism in the A.C.T, to talk to us this morning and tell us all about their involvement.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much, John, and good morning, everyone. Thank you, Michael, and the team at Brindabella Motorsports for their significant support in making this event possible. We had an approach only really some weeks ago, in fact, would the government be able to assist, and we were delighted to be able to do so, and that has involved coordinating a number of different areas of A.C.T government. We've put a special events team in place to work with the guys to ensure that this event could happen, and with the tremendous support of the Australian Rally Championship. I'd like to acknowledge Scott and thank him very much for being here today. This has become what was a fantastic idea has become a reality, and it's I think a really important addition to our centenary sporting program. It's the biggest year of sport that Canberra's ever seen, and to be able to add this event into a really impressive calendar of events is fantastic. And we're delighted through the Community Motorsport Grants program to have been able to provide some timely support for some timing equipment that will certainly allow the guys to be able to not only stage this event, but in order to continue that leadership role within the sport, and that's important. That's why we have those sorts of grants programs. And I wasn't aware of the fact that 20% of champions had come from the A.C.T, and so yeah, when you consider that we are only 2% of the national population, that is a significant achievement and something that ought to be acknowledged and celebrated. And through today's announcement, I think we have the opportunity to continue to build Canberra's enviable reputation in the sport of rallying. So congratulations to everyone. We're delighted that this has been able to be pulled off in such a short time, and I think that shows just how much commitment and if you'll excuse the pun, drive there is to see this happen. So congratulations everyone, and we really look forward to a fantastic rally in March of 2013. Thank you.
Thanks, Minister Barr, and I'm sure that rallying will reward your input and involvement in the A.C.T government's help. I know on the weekend a fairly minor state championship event on the south coast, the numbers done over the last year or so with that event at Bateman's Bay reflected that it injected about $500,000 into the local community over a weekend, and that's a much smaller event than the National Capital Rally will be in 2013. I was talking before about the renaissance of Australian rallying and the Australian Championship, and the involvement of more manufacturers just on the horizon, and the person that's driven all of that and brought it back from its low ebb is a guy who has a vision for the sport and has certainly been a big help in bringing the Australian Rally Championship back to Canberra. And I'd like to call on Scott Pedder to come up and have a bit of a chat. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks very much. It's absolutely fantastic to be here.
I was thinking back as I was driving down here this morning about the Pedder's involvement in Canberra, and I seem to recall a fairly heavy marketing involvement. I think your first ever TV commercial for the Pedder's brand was a very lively Datsun 1600 coming along Bullock's Paddock Road with Hugh Bell at the wheel, almost out of control, but obviously saved by Pedder's suspension. So Canberra plays a pretty significant role in the Pedder's story.
Yeah, look, the first rally I ever went to was I was about June 1976, and I was about 3 weeks old, and it was down at the mine shaft watching Datsun 1600s and Ford Escorts and the like, jumping over this magnificent piece of road. And as you said, Canberra's been a massive part of Australian rallying, and probably two people to acknowledge in this room that are Canberrians. One of them's Neil Bates, and you mentioned that it was 8. Well, he takes four of the championship trophies, and the other one is the chairman of the Australian Rally Commission, which is Cole Trinder down the front row there, who's in charge of all of rallying across the country. So to say that Canberra is a big part of Australian rallying is a huge understatement. And as someone said before, that it is the birthplace of Australian rallying. I think you'll probably have some people from Coffs Harbour and Brighton, Victoria probably argue that, but certainly Canberra, it has a huge history, and we are just ecstatic for what Brindabella's done and for what Minister Barr's been able to achieve. It's a huge coup for the Australian Championship for sure.
Of course, Canberra's going to be the opening round of the 2013 season. A lot of news. I know you can't reveal too much at the moment, but there's a lot of news on the horizon with manufacturer involvement for 2013. So it's going to be a fairly significant start to a brand new season next year here in Canberra. Yeah,
look, from manufacturer's point of view, we'll have our second one, obviously apart from Honda, and Honda have shown incredible commitment over the last 3 years, and we'll have our second manufacturer to announce next week, and another on the horizon within the next month. So we put out a release on Monday saying that we were confident of between 3 and 5, and I genuinely believe that we'll get to 5 next year, and then on to more for 2014. And look, from manufacturers are a very important part of the sport, because they provide obviously incremental gains in leverage that the championship can't always do into mass media. They provide aspiration for our young crews, as people sitting here would know. It's fantastic that the rules or the changes that we put in place now some 18 months ago are coming to fruition, and the competition for next year's Australian Championship, which for outright will be two-wheel drive only, is going to be arguably the fiercest it's been for over a decade.
Yeah, that's a significant point, because it is going to be a total change of the guard. It'll be the first time that the two-wheel drives will be the only car you can win the Australian Championship in.
Yeah, correct. And look, the reason for that was all about market relevance. The four-wheel drive cars now are older model cars. Super 2000, which is a top of the range four-wheel drive class around the world, for whatever reason hasn't worked here. We had some Toyotas, we had a few Fords now and then, but it hasn't worked as well as it has been in other parts of the world. So we needed to do something to maintain our relevance with the marketplace. So two-wheel drive was the obvious choice there, and we've set up a system of rules where you can have cars that don't have a homologation over internationally, cars that can be built here, cars that you can get from overseas, rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive. So it's a fairly open set of rules, allowing sort of maximum participation both from a manufacturer point of view and from a privateer. So as Adelaide proved last weekend, we had a guy in a rear-wheel drive Sylvia under our production rally car rules, taking it right up to the new front-wheel drive Hondas. So, as I said, from a participation point of view, from an excitement point of view, it's going to be unbelievably good.
So Canberra's really going to be the first time all of that's showcased on a national basis.
And look, there's no better place, I think, than Canberra in a very, very special year for this state or this city next year. And I think it's great that it's a special year for the ARC and a special year for Canberra, and a special year for CAMS as well, celebrating a big birthday as well. So it's all come together very nicely.
Fantastic. Thank you, Scott.
No worries. Thanks very much.
And Scott Pedder. Well, that brings to a conclusion our formal presentation, but obviously the cars are outside. We've got some great drivers. I've almost forgot, but we're actually going to get Eli Evans from the Honda team up here to talk about his involvement in the National Capital Rally next year and some of his experience in the Canberra Forest. So, ladies and gentlemen, Eli Evans from the Honda team. Welcome, Eli.
Thank you, John.
You looking forward to Canberra?
Canberra for me actually it's been a tough event. I think I've had more off-road excursions than champagne sprays. So when I heard it was back on the calendar, it's probably a good chance for me to turn those results around and make sure that we achieve a great result. But look, in the past, Canberra's been a really tough event, and Neil's been fast here every time. Obviously,
I wonder why that is.
He was born on these roads, I think. So, you know, he's always competitive here, and he was the guy who always had a benchmark to try and beat in Canberra as I was going through the ranks, and that probably led to more off-road excursions as such, chasing him through the forest. But look, having a rally so close to the city, as was said earlier, is a wonderful thing, and it doesn't happen in the Australian Rally Championship very often. So I expect the crowds to be right up there, especially now having a entry, no fee to go out spectating. It allows sort of all families to get out there and enjoy the weekend.
You're leading the 2012 two-wheel drive championship. Next year it'll be only two-wheel drive. You've had 3 seasons, it will be 3 seasons at the end of this year in a two-wheel drive car. Heading into next year, there looks like a lot of opposition. It's going to be an exciting thing for you because you'll be the most experienced two-wheel drive competitor at the start line in Canberra in 2013, the first round.
Yeah, the pressure's going to be on, that's for sure, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to. The challenge of having, you know, another 3-4 manufacturers involved in the championship, getting the same opportunity I do with Honda, with their associated manufacturers, you know, the drivers. So, yeah, I'll probably go in as, you know, being, you know, if I can finish off this year the way we've started and win the championship, then, you know, I'll probably go in as favourite next year. And that's something that, as a driver, I want to take the challenge up to and really do Honda proud for their support they've shown to me and our team in rallying. But, you know, it's just a great relief that the guys behind the scenes, yourself and Scott and Colin, all those guys who have put the work and effort into, you know, revitalising the championship and getting back to where it is now is really paying off. So big thanks to those guys for, especially for my opportunity as a driver, but also the guys who are going to pick up drives in the next few years, the young guys coming through and some established drivers getting back into factory teams is going to be all big for rallying.
You had a ding-dong battle at the most recent round in South Australia, particularly up against your 4 times Australian champion brother Simon, who is obviously punting his Mazda around fairly quickly. You'll have Simon, and you also had Jack Monkhouse and your teammate Mark Pedder, who's here today as well. What's it like having that sort of level of competition around you? It must be fantastic, given that you came out of the last couple of years where you were really the only two-wheel drive car running. Yeah, look, it's growing stronger every year, and next year's going to be the strongest two-wheel drive championship's ever been. But look, it brings the best out of yourself as a driver. I was a bit fortunate. I had 2 years where I could just really focus on car setup, learning the art of two-wheel drive, not knowing that it was going to go to a two-wheel drive championship. But when the announcement was made, I had a big smile on my face and thought the crystal ball at home actually works. So, you know, we were able to what at the time was a step down to two-wheel drive, but now was actually a step forward 2 years ago to go to a two-wheel drive car. So, I'm all smiles, and I think you know, guys going from four-wheel drive to two-wheel drive, it will take about sort of between the 6 to 12 months for them to get their pace right and really get the hang of the two-wheel drive. So I'll try and make the most of that at the early start, you know, early parts rally of Canberra next year, and make sure that I'm on the podium scoring great amount of points. Just finally, how important is it for a factory team like Honda to showcase the sport of rallying in a city like the national capital? Yeah, it's great. Obviously, the amount of people we get here is going to be. This will be, you know, I'm pretty confident that the crowds we're going to have is going to be the biggest event here, and you know, and rallying for Honda is a crucial part of their marketing tools, where you know, they try and include their cars in the market with how strong they are, how loud and how fast, and try and get sort of the younger crowd to buy their cars, which is working really well. And you know, their sales of the last month have really stepped up, which is fantastic for Honda, and they're really excited about keep pushing for their rally program in the few years to come and go bigger and better. Lift the sales, we get more budget. That's it. It's always the way, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, Eli Evans from the Honda team, who will obviously be one of the front runners here when the National Capital Rally arrives back in Canberra in March 2013. So without any more ceremony, we'll bring this to a conclusion. Obviously the cars are outside for the media to photograph. the drivers will be available for interview, as well as Scott Pedder and also the Minister and Michael Taylor. So thank you for coming today, and we look forward to welcoming you back in on the first weekend in March next year to kick off the centenary celebrations for Canberra. Thanks again.